Hello, my name is Konrad Wojtowicz, and today on myPolitics channel we have an international debate on family policy and social topics. And I have a pleasure to guest members of European youth parties, Ida Maria Skytte from LYMEC, European Liberal Youth, Akim Savruckis from Movement for Youth from Latvia, Julius Nissen from Junge Union from Germany, as well as Tomasz Frączak from Federation of Young Social Democrats from Poland. And let's start then with the first question, women's rights, abortion rights. Specifically, are you in favor or against of abortion rights for women, and to what extent? Because also the extent, the spectrum of abortion rights for women is one of the most crucial issues right now for social topics in Europe. And the first speaker would be Ida Maria Skytte. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. LYMEC is definitely in favor of abortion rights. We believe that women's rights are human rights, and it should always be up to the woman herself to decide if she wants to have an abortion. When it comes to up to what extent, as I said, we believe that it's the woman's choice. We believe that up to 22nd or 22 weeks, it should be possible for a woman to do an abortion. What we're witnessing now in countries like Poland, but also in states in the US, for example, is really worrying. We are seeing how this very fundamental right is being undermined, and it's really worrying. So we definitely think that we need to strengthen this right in all of Europe and also all over the world. It should always be up to the woman herself. It shouldn't be a question of what's the cause for the abortion. It should always be the choice of the woman.
Okay, thank you very much. And the second speaker, Akim Savruckis, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. So first of all, I would like to express that we strongly advocate for women's rights and believe that every woman should be able to make independent decisions about her body. It's her choice, it's her body, and it is just that easy. And I want to stress that abortion rights are human rights, and sexual and reproductive health and rights are inviolable fundamental human rights, and every woman must have autonomy over her body. To what extent? Well, I agree with the representative of LYMEC that it is 22 weeks or 21 weeks, so it depends on scientific point of view, but the thing is that it is women's choice to make decision on her body, and it is indeed worrying and highly worrying that some member states have laws restricting or even prohibiting abortion, forcing women to look for unsafe alternatives that could put their lives at risk. The European Union must make it clear for the governments of its memberships of member states and the rest of the world that we will not tolerate any attempt to repress women or to restrict their rights. We must practice what we preach, and we need to firmly reassure our commitment to protecting and promoting women's rights, not only in Europe, but throughout the world. And it's important that if we're talking about some governments of Europe that right now are ignoring fundamental and our common European values, that the money will not go to the autocrats who ignore these values, and that EU funds reach those who need it the most. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the first speaker, Julius Nissen, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. There's not so much left to say for me. I can agree to my previous speakers in most of the terms they said. I think it's a human right and a woman's right to have abortion rights, and it should be up to the women to decide if they want to do that or not. If it comes to the question to what extent we should allow it, I think that's very difficult question to answer from a political point of view. That should more be answered from medical perspective. So I'm not an expert in that. I think the actual situation in Germany is that it is allowed until the 12th week of a pregnancy. I think that's a good solution, but as I said, I'm not an expert in that question, so I would let medicines to decide about that. And but I also want to agree what you said about the situation in other European countries and also in some states of the US, especially what is going on in Poland. That makes me worry a lot, and I think it's natural, and it's a natural situation that we have different perspectives and different positions of the populations across Europe. But there should be, from my point of view, there should be minimum common sense between all the states, and I think that's at risk, at least in Poland and some other countries at the moment.
Thank you very much. And Ida Maria Skytte would like to respond to Julia's statement. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to do a quick comment regarding the weeks, because a lot of EU countries has the same system as in Germany, that you're allowed to do the abortion up to 12 weeks. But we know that the reality is that a lot of women aren't even aware that they are pregnant when they reach the 12-week pregnancy. So 12 weeks is definitely too short. A lot of countries also have 18 weeks, which is much better, but still LYMEC thinks that 22 weeks is the best. And this is also something that is strengthened by medical points of view. It's not something that we have just taken out of anywhere. So I think that 12 weeks, yes, better than nothing, but it's not good enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And you also can comment on that, Julius, if you want.
I don't want to speak against their position. I think it's hard to say. You said it's 12 is better than nothing, and better would be 18, and the best is 22. I think abortion is a very, very difficult question with no best position. I think you can just try to find a good solution, and find a good solution for every individual woman. And yeah, I don't want to say 12 is the best solution, but I would also not say 18 or 22 is the best solution. I think that should not be. In fact, it is up to politicians, but to find the data for this is not up to politicians.
Okay, thank you very much. Also, Akim Savruckis would like to have a floor. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, I would like to respond on this one. The thing is very simple, very straightforward. Yes, we can work on the prevention. We can work on affordable and evidence-based sexual and sexual health education. We can talk about different methods how we can prevent the abortion. But when it comes to the abortion, this is the moral issue of women herself. And it is not up to men to decide whether women should have an abortion or not. And it really, I cannot understand this, how men could believe that we are better in deciding whether women should have an abortion or not than the women themselves. This is not how it works, and this is not how it should work, because women are as same as we are, and we should not undermine their ability to take serious decisions on their bodies. And this is the intersectional way how we can communicate this question and how we can deal with it. So it can be both education, healthcare system, and of course, human rights.
Okay, thank you. And maybe let's move now to the original question. And the last speaker answering the first question, the first issue is Tomasz Frączak from Poland. The floor is yours.
Yep, hello, and thank you for inviting me here. I'm really pleased to be here. And I'm also extremely happy that a lot of us here, pretty much everyone, we have the same kind of standpoint on the opinion on abortion. And we do believe that women do have a moral right to decide what to do with their own bodies. The right to abortion is vital to gender equality as well. And banning abortion puts women at risk by forcing them to use illegal abortion clinics. Also, when it comes down to getting the free access to abortion, it's incredibly important for women to achieve full political, social, and economic equality with men as well. And I also believe that women need the right to abortion to have full rights over their bodies. Without this, without this right, they don't really have the same moral status of men, and I think this is incredibly important to change that. I'm also quite happy that everyone here is quite aware of what's going on in several European countries and in Poland as well. From my standpoint as well, what I'd like to mention is that we work with non-profit organizations and political parties, and we do collect signatures to put cases to the parliament, to the government, and we are fighting really hard, and we're doing everything that we can to make sure that this is going to be overthrown. Also, what I wanted to point out is that aside, it's the women's choice, obviously. I do believe that everyone and every single person that decides to have an abortion should have free access to psychologists and psychiatrists as well. That this kind of decision is going to be made with education, and they will know exactly what possibly can happen to their bodies in terms of the physical and mental health as well, because it's never an easy decision, and it isn't. And we believe that this should be an educated decision to have an abortion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Also, Ilius would like to comment on the previous statement of Akim's. The floor is yours, Ben.
Yes, I just wanted to answer. First of all, I'm glad that we all seem not to be very far from each other. I wanted to answer on your argument that why do we as men decide about women's rights? And I see that point, and of course I know that argument. It's an often used argument in this debate, but I understand it, but I can't absolutely share it, because what would be the alternative? Should only female politicians decide about it? So in that case, why do we discuss about it here? Because there's only one woman here in our discussion. Or should we give the decision to all women, completely up to them until the very end of the pregnancy? I think both alternatives can't be good alternatives. Or do you disagree?
Okay, Akim, you can respond just shortly.
Well, surely it would not be that easy, but the thing is very, very simple. This is not about in some way restricting men to talk about their stances on abortion. This is the thing when we talk that men decide to think that they are better than women in understanding how their body works and their needs and the health issue as well. The thing is very clear that we can talk about this and we need to talk about this, but silencing women and thinking that the parliament with 60 man out of 100 places can decide whether women should have an abortion or not. It's just absurd. This is some kind of a nonsense that we should not let it happen. And this is our moral obligation to protect women's rights and to give the women the right to decide whether she herself would be able to get an abortion. And it should be an informed decision. And that's why we should promote the sexual education in schools and universities. And this is some kind of an intersectional thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now Ida, Maria would like to take the floor. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Just a quick comment. It feels like I'm a bit obliged to comment on this since I'm the only woman in this panel. No, it shouldn't only be the woman making these decisions, but the thing is, when making decisions about women's bodies, you should at least listen to women. And not say that we only can listen to doctors or medical staff or someone who has performed abortions. We also need to listen to women themselves and to what their experiences are and what their opinions are. As also the previous speaker said, we already have a situation where most parliaments are not 50-50 men and women. There's almost in all parliaments a majority of men, which also makes this discussion even harder. So just when doing these kind of decisions, we need to listen to women.
Okay, thank you very much for your contribution in this first section. Now we shall move to the next issue regarding same-sex marriages and also adoption by such couples. I think that the most heated points are the fact that many experts, many politicians argue about the marriage and partnership, because for some people there's a difference between a same-sex partnership and a marriage. And also the next heated issue is the adoption of children by such couples, which is acknowledged and gets a lot of recognition around Europe in terms of the social issue. So the question is for you, what do you think about same-sex marriages, and also what do you think about adoption of children by them? And the first speaker is Tomasz Frączak from Federation of Young Social Democrats. The floor is yours.
Thank you. In terms of this same-sex marriage, yes, we do support this, and that's because everyone should have a right to have documents that confirm the love for each other, especially in the times where a lot of situations such as different accidents require to have some official documentation regarding the relationships between two people to have any kind of to receive any kind of information on the state of health of the second person as well. I don't believe that this is a topic and a discussion that we should be having. Really, there's plenty of different issues, such as socio-economic issues in European Union countries as well, that we should be focusing on. We shouldn't really be trying to make any person's life harder. We should try to make it as easier as we actually can. In terms of abortion, I do support that as well. Adoption, I do support that as well. I believe that same-sex couples, they are just as capable of and loving as any kind of other family. I believe also that becoming a parent is a specific choice, and the heterosexual couples, they do have the privilege that sometimes it comes in naturally, sometimes it comes in as a surprise. And for gay couples, it is it is a well thought out decision that they make, and what they try to achieve here. And also, there's plenty of benefits of LGBT adoption. People that grow up in those kind of families, they much more likely to be open-minded and tolerant to other individuals, other people. There was a study done by Abby Goldberg of Clark University in 2007 that confirms this idea. There was around 46 adult children who'd grown up in LGBT families, and it turned out that those people are extremely open-minded, extremely emotional and tolerant and empathetic to other people. I do believe that LGBT couples, they would make excellent parents and have the maternal and paternal instincts that any kind of child really needs. I think that, to me, it's actually quite out of the question, and it's an absurd to discuss those topics. I don't believe in arguments such as, the kids get bullied in school. I believe that in a loving and healthy family, healthy, households, they do have the benefits of being prepared for any kind of negative emotions that are going to be targeted them from the outside, not just in school, but throughout their life. And I think we shouldn't really be taking this away from children that really need support, that really need love. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And the second speaker is Julius Nielsen. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I can give a really short answer. I absolutely agree to Tomasz. Yes, I absolutely do support same-sex marriage and also adoption rights. And to be honest, I can't really see or imagine, understand any good reasons that could speak against it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And the third speaker, Akim Savruckis.
Well, first of all, let me make it clear. I and Movement for supports marriage equality and adoption of children by same-sex couples. We believe that everybody in the European Union should be safe and free to be themselves. And each of us can be a part of building the union of equality by speaking out against homophobia and any kind of hate, and supporting LGBTQIA+ rights. And if we're talking about some kind of legislative aspect, it's time to adopt the Horizontal Equal Treatment Directive, including strong rights treatment for LGBTQIA+ community, for ensuring the most effective way of combating any kind of discrimination and preventing it on the workplaces and in different fields of life of the society. And we indeed welcome the legal action against the Hungarian and Polish governments over their discrimination against LGBTQIA+ people. And at the end of the day, we must practice what we preach. So we do believe that the European Union should be at the forefront of defending LGBTQIA+ rights and promoting it all around the world, because our values are based on bringing different people together and celebrating diversity and seeing it as some kind of collective wealth. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last speaker, Ida Maria Skytte from LYMEC. The floor is yours.
Thank you. LYMEC absolutely thinks that all people should have the same rights and opportunities, regardless of their gender or sexual orientation. So we absolutely support same-sex marriages and also adoption by same-sex couples. I was really pleased to see here a few weeks ago that the EU Court of Justice actually ruled that same-sex couples and their children should be recognized as family in all of Europe and all of the EU. And this is a really big step in the right direction. We know that same-sex couples and their children have not been recognized as family in all of the EU before. And this is really, really huge step and a huge win for LGBT rights in EU. We also know that the European Parliament took a decision to declare all of the EU as a LGBT safe zone. But regardless of that, we know that there's still a lot of discrimination and harassment targeted towards LGBT people. So I think it's really important that it's not something that we should be talking about anymore. It should be obvious, but it's not. It's really not, and therefore we need to keep talking about these issues, keep advocating for better laws and better circumstances, and the same rights, regardless of what your sexual orientation is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that fulfills the second issue of our debate. So we shall move forward. The third topic is are pecuniary benefits for having children. It's a certain natalistic approach introduced in many European countries. Some argue that it is inefficient economically and also that it is not necessary in our contemporary world. Some argue that it is welcome, that politicians and states should promote having more children by the families in the home countries. What do you think about this particular issue bound to family policy? Should states promote bearing more children by giving certain benefits, especially pecuniary, some giving money for having more children? What do you think about it? And the first speaker is Julius Nielsen. The floor is yours.
Yeah, very interesting question. And I think it's difficult for us to find a clear or the same answer because we're from 4 different countries. And I think the answer for this question, also for question 4, and I think I'll have to mix my answers a bit because they're going to the same direction. I think the answer depends on the situation the country is in. If we are talking about a country where it is normal for families to have 3, 4, 5, or 6 children, and the countries are having, or the families are having problems to care about the children in that situation, I'd say yes, of course, there should be support for families and support for children, definitely. But it would not be very intelligent to have extreme benefits to have more and more children. If we're talking about other countries, like Germany right now, with not enough children, we are having a big demographic problem. Our society is getting older and older, and I think we're having about 1.4 children per woman. In countries like Germany, there is a big need to have more children and to have conditions for family that are good conditions to have children and to raise children. But I think we shouldn't only talk about pecuniary benefits. We should also talk about the situation. It is absolutely important to have a situation for a young couple, or also for women and for men, to raise their children and to have a job at the same time. We need to have good possibilities to combine that. And I think for countries like Germany or countries with similar problems, these 2 points are important to have a good family policy.
Okay, thank you very much. And now Ida Maria Skytte from LYMEC.
Thank you very much. I think what Julia said is really important, that we need to find flexibility for families and for parents. I think that's the main question here. LYMEC doesn't really have a clear policy when it comes to financial benefits for families, but personally, when looking at the situation, we know that people get children in an older age now than previously, and I think one big reason for that is that we live in quite uncertain times, and whether that might be uncertainty because of climate change or uncertainty because of the financial situation. I think that it's important for young adults or adults who wants to create a family, that there are a safety net there. There is a safety, so that they know that they can raise children without worrying about financial issues. But as also Julius pointed out here, I think it depends a lot on the current state in the country. I personally come from Finland, and we also have many of the same issues as in Germany, and we also face a lot of demographic problems. At the same time, we have over 60 million refugees in the world. So it's not that we have too little children or too few children in the world. It's just that we have too few children in Europe. So yeah, might not get into that subject too much, because that's not on the agenda for today. But it's good to also look at the bigger picture. Is the problem really only that we're not getting enough children here, or should we in a way make it easier for people also to come to Europe? That would be also one solution to our demographic issues. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Tomasz Frączak from Federation of Young Socjaldemokrats.
Yeah, thank you. There should always be opportunities for families that have more children to receive some kind of financial support from the government. I believe that at the end of the day, this kind of decision to have children and start a family, things like income shouldn't really determine whether they can do it or not. I think that at the end of the day, also, the children that are born into families that which will have slightly lower income than other families, and there's more of them, and they do have some financial struggles, I don't think that that they should be punished in any way. So I think that every child should have a chance to receive an appropriate education. They should have the opportunity to have the same social interaction as other kids their age. Same with the chance to participate in extra activities outside of school. Unfortunately, there's still a lot of children in families that can't afford a lot of these things. I think that everyone should have equal opportunities in life, and we need to start taking into consideration people that are not in a highly privileged situation. I also think that any kind of financial support and benefits from the government that go to those families, I think that those families need to have some form of control from the government as well, in terms of checking out, what's happening with the money, whether this is actually going to children and their education, and making their lives easier and better as well. And I don't think, like I said, anyone should be punished and have lower standard of life, and people that don't have the same kind of equal opportunities in life. This shouldn't really happen based on income. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the last answer from Akim Savruckis from Movement for Youth.
Well, thank you. Short answer is yes, we do support it. The long answer is that we have to ensure strong social security and support policies for all families, regardless of form and the number of children. So I brought up a little bit data from Latvia. So the population surveys show a gap between the desired number and actual number of children in a family. So the opportunities provided by economic growth play a key role in creating some kind of sense of security for families and fulfillment of their wishes. However, economic growth is not the only thing that will help us improve our demographic situation. And the other data from Latvia is that research confirms that many families are at risks of poverty, not just large families. So those where children are born in unregistered relationships. Unfortunately, in Latvia, we still don't have civil partnership law, and same-sex couples cannot register their relationships. Families with one parent, which unfortunately make up 1/3 of Latvian families, and families with children with disabilities. So we focus our family support policy on reducing the risk of poverty for all families. As I said before, regardless of family form and number of children. And the other thing, we do believe that it is extremely important to support measures to promote employment, such as flexible working hours, remote part-time work, guaranteed places in kindergarten, and especially in Latvia, it is internal mobility. So the possibility to change place of residence to open up some kind of employment opportunities, and this is our vision of improving demographic picture in Latvia, and especially because I agree with previous speakers that we should look at this issue from the standpoint of every country, and we cannot really adopt the universal policy for the European Union, because it is not possible. We have different situations in different member states, and we have to base our approach on the situation, on democratic, economic, socioeconomic situation in every state. And then we can decide whether some kind of benefit system would be acceptable and profitable for the society of a certain country.
Okay, thank you very much. And that concludes the third issue of our topic. And the next question is broader, because now we need to discuss what is the most important family issue right now in the European Union, and what do you think is the most important problem for European families, but also what should the European Union do in context of the family policy. And the first speaker is Ida Maria Skytte from LYMEC. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Well, there are a vast majority of issues that we should tackle. One thing that comes to mind, and that definitely hasn't improved during the pandemic, is domestic violence. We know that a lot of women in families face domestic violence and violence against women. This is something that the European Parliament has done quite a lot about, but still not enough by any means. I think that we need to tackle this issue on all different levels. We need to educate people more about domestic violence. It's still, when you hear the numbers about how many people actually get affected by this, and especially women, you are shocked. I mean, every year when you read the statistics, you are shocked and you can't believe your eyes. And I think it's important that we talk much more about this issue. I think it's important that we read about it in schools, but also talk about it in news and so on, so that people actually get to hear about this, because it's a problem that is quite taboo. It's something that we don't really talk about because it's something that's affecting us all in one way or another. So I think that's definitely something that also has been well, the domestic violence has increased during the pandemic. So that's something that we know, and I think it's important that we don't just think that we have solved it in any way, but we really need to put more focus on this, both in the European Parliament, in the European Commission, but also in national governments and national parliaments, because this is a problem that's ongoing in all of EU, all of the world. And it's not something that any member state can do by themselves. It's not something that can be done only by the European Parliament. It's something that we need to put in a lot of work on all different levels. So that's one thing that at least comes to mind.
Okay, thank you very much. And the next speaker is Tomasz Frączak. The floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Actually, Ida, thank you for mentioning domestic abuse. That's actually one of the subjects that I wanted to touch up on, but I'm not going to repeat everything that you've said. I'm going to focus on another one, which is the social exclusion and socio-economic inequality that have risen in some European countries in the recent decades. And that's due to some factors such as globalization, technological change, taxation policy, the economic crisis. And these inequalities are hampering economic growth, I believe, and can lead to social conflict, reducing participation in society and leading to increased social exclusion. We can highlight those impacts on employment, living conditions, quality of life, and working conditions as well in a lot of European countries. As an example, there's a lot of women that are single mothers with lower income that are actually at higher risk of mental health issues. Some groups, particularly the unemployed in the long term, are much more likely to experience feelings of social exclusion. People with lower secondary education report higher social exclusion as well. I believe that this should be a focus for the European Union to try to prevent this in the future and try to minimize the socioeconomic inequalities in Europe. This also goes back to the previous question with the financial benefits and support. That's something that has a huge impact on inequalities in European countries and families. And I do believe that this should be the real focus of the debate, not just this one, but in general, especially with the politicians that do have impact on changes in their countries, rather than things like whether women should have the right to choose what they're going to do with their bodies. Obviously, they do have the right and they should have the right, but this shouldn't be the topic of any kind of debate anymore. I think, we moved past this. We're in 2022 and we should try to make everyone's lives easier and not harder. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the third speaker, Akim Sawrucki.
Well, yes, first of all, I would like to agree with Ida and Thomas about the domestic violence and the social exclusion. These are the issues that are undeniably extremely important. I will talk a little bit out of the perspective of Latvia. So, as I said before, there is de facto no legislative protection, legal protection of rainbow families in Latvia. And this is some kind of very hot topic for us. And the things that comes up to my mind is the issue of guaranteeing equal rights for rainbow families across the European Union, including free movement rights in the follow-up of the ECG judgment and the full mutual recognition of the rights of rainbow families in all EU member states. Fortunately, we are already on the right track, and every day we take a step towards more equal union. We need to ensure strong and incredible monitoring of the implementation of LGBTQIA plus policies in every EU country that is more concentrated on rainbow families. And in this process, not only the European Commission or European Parliament or European Council plays an important role, but also of course, local authorities and the member states governments, but as well as civil society and citizens of the member states who can demand strong action from their governments to improve the quality of life of the rainbow families and protect their rights. So I can agree with previous speakers on various topics that we have a lot of things to do and a lot of things that could be improved in terms of family policies. But the thing that is extremely important and essential for Latvia right now is rainbow families, because we are only moving towards some kind of legal protection for these families and the some kind of social understanding that this is not some kind of the last on the list question. So rainbow families are something that we want to protect, and we want to ensure the protection of them all across the European Union.
Thank you. And the last finishing answer is from Julius Nissen from Junge Union.
Yeah, thank you. I first of all also wanted to express my that I agree with all my three previous speakers. These were points I didn't really think about too much preparing for this question, but I think all three of you mentioned very good and important points for many European countries or for the whole Europe. So thank you very much for that. What I wanted to speak about is the topic of migration. And as I pointed out already for question number 3, I think one of the biggest problems for Germany especially, but also for many other European countries, I think for Eastern European countries, but also for countries in Northern Europe or also in Southern Europe, we have big problems with demographic change and with societies getting older and older, and less people in working ages. And at the same time, since a couple of years, we're having many people coming to our countries, to Germany, to Sweden, Austria, Netherlands, but also to many other countries across Europe. And I would say many of these people, maybe most of those people, are children or young people, young humans. And I think there is so much potential in those people. Some of them are already well educated when they come to our countries and bring big potential and big knowledge to our countries, and others of them are having big potentials. And if we achieve to make them part of our society, if we educate them, we can, as I said, we can make them part of our society, and we can have benefits for all and for all of us, for many states in Europe, but also for those people coming to our countries. So I know this is a question. Some European countries have different positions talking about it, and the problem or the task is bigger in some countries than in other countries, but I think we have big potential here.
Okay, thank you very much. And Ida Maria Skytte would like to comment on Julia's statement. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I completely agree. I think it's just important to point out there might also be a language barrier here, of course, but I think it's important to also point out that people who come as refugees or asylum seekers or for any other reason to Europe, it's not our position to educate them, or it's not our position to make them, assimilated to our societies or our culture. It's very important to also respect that the people who are coming here have their own cultures, have their own educational background, and so forth and so on. I'm sure Julius didn't mean anything bad with what he was saying. I just wanted to point out that it's not really our place to try to educate people who are coming here. But I completely agree that the EU needs to create a common asylum and migration policy, and it's really a big failure that we haven't done so already. And it's showing all over, especially if you look at the south of Europe, how big of a failure this is. People are dying because we haven't really come to a conclusion when it comes to these policies. So I think it's really important that we also focus more on these issues in the EU.
And now, Julius, the floor is yours.
Yes, as you said, or as you thought, that's what I wanted to say. I absolutely respect where they're coming from and their home countries and their culture and so on. I just wanted to say we have to give them the opportunity to have the best education and to have the same possibilities as everybody else in our countries. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you very much. And it means that our today's debate is concluded. Thank you very much for your contribution and participation. And it was my pleasure to talk to Ida Maria Skytte from LYMEC, Akim Savrutskis from Movement for Youth, Julius Nissen from Junge Union, and Tomasz Frączak from Federation of Young Socjaldemokrats. Thank you very much again, and I wish you a very happy day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.